Welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing, where we get brutally honest about marketing, business development, and the messy middle of making it all work. I'm Gary Johnson, marketing coach, strategist, and professional BS detector for attorneys and professional advisors who are tired of doing what everyone else does. And if you listen to this and think, I need help with this, my next group coaching cohort starts June 11th. Check out the show notes for details. So around here, we skip the fluff, real conversations, real insights, and yeah, probably a few F-bombs along the way. So let's get into this. Marketing can sometimes feel all over the place. One of the reasons why is because the attorney's focus is too broad. And I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Lana Manganiello, who is the law firm growth strategist and founder of Practice Growth Partner. We are going to talk about why narrowing your focus is what actually creates traction, not limits it. And she's going to share why attorneys resist it and what changes they can do to commit to it, and how it impacts everything from your messaging to your referrals. If you've been trying to grow, but things aren't really compounding, then this one is for you. So welcome, Lana, to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing.
Thanks, Gary. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm privileged to have you here. So let's jump into it. When you say narrow your focus, what does that actually look like in practice? Are we talking about industry, case type, client type, all of it, or something else?
Yeah, we're talking about all of it. We're talking about a marketing focus. I think sometimes attorneys confuse the idea of having a focus around your marketing with having a focus for your practice, where you're eliminating the work that you currently have on your plate or saying no to more things. So, when I'm working with someone, I want them to think about what do they want to be known for over the next 12 months? Where do we really want to raise their visibility? And thinking of it in kind of a shorter term scope so that it helps to shape their marketing activities. And another thing that I'm usually asking them to do is think about, who their ideal client is and what is ideal work and what is kind of the initial engagement to start working with those people and start to do that kind of work, and then use that as a marketing focus and kind of shape the rest of their marketing activities around that kind of entry point matter with that specific client. And so that it really informs the places they show up and the things that they're, writing about and speaking about.
Yeah. So you had said that a typical fear is that they're going to lose business, right? That they're going to be like, oh my God, but I can work on this and I can work on this and work on this. Do you think that that is why they're so uncomfortable about, niching down?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why lawyers are hesitant to do this. I mean, it's part of their identity. They like the fact that they can handle complex, varied work. So, when they're hearing me say, pick a focus, it feels like reduce yourself.
Right.
And so, this is really about being recognizable and memorable, not about your abilities. And, I think being able to say no to things really strengthens your positioning, and people are just uncomfortable saying no to things.
I know how that is too, So, when you do look at this and you're like, okay, you're not going to lose opportunity from this, but what are some of the huge benefits that people get when they really narrow their focus? Because I know you had touched on, it allows them to write about different things, speak about different things. But do you also see some sort of transformation when they really get niched down?
Yeah, there are so many benefits to niching down from a marketing perspective, but also from a practice perspective. When you're working with the same kinds of clients on the same kind of matters, you see patterns faster than your competitors. It
Great point.
Again, from a competition standpoint, if you're the go-to person for this kind of work, it's a lot harder to look at the competitive environment and say, apples to apples. It's like, well, they can't really compare you on price alone because you have this unique experience or you've really focused on this area. So, beyond making it so much easier from a marketing perspective of like, okay, if we want, for us, if we're like, okay, let's focus in on
Everybody?
IP attorneys.
Yeah.
And really kind of build a practice around IP attorneys, we would get better at our jobs of like, okay, I work with 20 IP firms and 100 IP lawyers, all doing things a little differently, but there's a lot of kind of universal components to their practices, and I'm able to give them ideas and see things before someone who doesn't only work with IP attorneys. And so it's the same thing with lawyers, but that's also, why people don't want to do it. Like, I like IP attorneys, but I like working with all sorts of attorneys. Yeah. So even though I'm saying, the way to get the best results is to pick a lane and really build around it. But that's a choice on how you want to build your practice, and that's why people don't do it, is because it's not that easy to pick something. And I mean, obviously you and I only work with lawyers, and I think there's a lot of people in marketing who work in professional services, and so they'll include architects and engineers and accountants. Yeah. And there's some value to that. I mean, lots of people, want to talk about the benefit of having this varied experience, and that is a real thing. Mm-hmm. But when I think the book is called Range, that talks about I am not an athlete, so for me to be referencing this is kind of funny, but the best athletes are the ones who have played multiple sports and then use that to really help them in whatever sport they're focused on. Same thing with like scientists and stuff. If they've had a varied experience and then bring it to a focus, like, they're much better than the people who have only had this focus. And so undoubtedly, from a marketing perspective, it's much easier when you have that focus. And so that's what I'm trying to help people is, here's one way to do it that like doesn't require a lot of thinking. It's pretty formulaic. If we want you to be known as the IP attorney for life science around a very specific kind of product, it makes the marketing so much easier because you know exactly who your target audience is, and it's a lot easier to know what they care about and really,
like, what are their struggles? Because you've worked with so many that you've seen the spectrum across the board, and you're like, life sciences, I know that they struggle with this and this and this and this. And because I'm an expert at that, one, I'm able to get the patent done faster because I understand the invention, but also I am able to relate to them, to talk to them, because inventors are difficult to sometimes talk to because they're so ingrained in that. But if you're an IP attorney who really understands that niche, they're going to pay more for it, a lot more for it, so you get more money. It makes things so much easier for marketing, because if you're like, I'm an IP attorney and I am a personal injury attorney and estate planning and I do some contract work, and you're like, that's the master of none. Like, okay, those people are typically the ones, and I hate to say this, and if you're listening to this, please don't get insulted by it, but it's those new individuals who they're trying to find their niche. They've just come out of law school and they're trying to find what do they want to really focus in on. And then once they do pick that lane, they go after it. Then they get this great experience and they really understand their clients, what their clients are trying to achieve, what their struggles are, what their problems are that they are helping them out with. It just makes it so much easier, Mm-hmm. It's just, it's radical. I mean, it really is, but they have to overcome that fear, right? So now we talked about content a little bit, But in regards to networking specifically, and so many niches down, how is niching it down beneficial to them for their networking abilities or activities, I should say?
Yeah. So it makes you, so first it shapes where you should be showing up and networking.
Yes.
So, um, you know, I see a lot of people, you and I know each other through provisors. So there's a lot of people in provisors who have not picked a lane. And those are usually the people that everyone likes and knows
Mhm.
and never knows what to send them
Yes.
because one day they're standing up and talking about personal injury. The next day they're talking about a real estate dispute. And then they're talking about setting up an LLC. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I feel like that's one way to get the least sophisticated work. And that's what I see a lot of is those types of that kind of messaging, even though this person has been in practice for 40 years and is actually excellent at a lot of things, we as human beings can't kind of understand that message and remember somebody as the go-to person when it keeps changing. And I recognize like, okay, personal injury requires a certain kind of lawyer that is different than transactional work. And so there it just kind of goes against how we as human beings are like putting people into boxes in our memory. So
Yeah.
if you have that message that repeats and builds momentum, it makes you memorable. And then people will call you for things outside of that focus because they
Yep.
remember you and they
Right.
trust you. And they're
Right.
like, oh, this guy, all he talks about is real estate disputes. This isn't a dispute, it's transactional, but he probably knows who to call. And then he can decide, like, do I want to take this or not?
That's exactly right. Yep.
But the people who are memorable get more calls across the board beyond that focus.
Yeah. And this, for the listeners, that knowledge right there is so important because sophisticated work is actually more money. You can charge more for sophisticated work as opposed to the run of the mill stuff, So if you want to make more money and you want to have better clients or more like without using the word sophisticated, but clients who really value your legal expertise and it makes it intellectually stimulating, niche down because you'll get that sort of work. And also you'll get more calls, a whole lot more fucking calls. Like, holy shit. Like it's amazing that not everybody does it. And again, because of their fear of I'm going to lose out. But like what Lana just said, you're going to get more calls. You're going to get more stuff that people will reach out to you because you are the one that they remember. So now what does stronger positioning actually look like when someone gets it right? Like how would their messaging change differently now that they choose the lane, they choose the niche? What does that look like for somebody who's successful at doing that?
Yeah, I think, once you've picked a marketing focus and you've decided, like, I want to be known as the go-to person for this kind of work. Let's say it's real estate and you're doing real estate transactions. I'm in San Diego, so people are, there's a lot of labs and life science down here. And so say that's your focus, what that looks like in practice. So it's like, okay, in my mind, that is my focus. Like, how do I now create the social proof and
Yes.
all the indicators that I actually am the best qualified representation for this kind of work? And so I think you need to start with your website bio and make sure if this is your focus, it's very clear when I skim your bio that you have done this before. You're writing your rep matters in a way where you're really highlighting your previous work as it relates to this kind of work that you want more of.
Mm-hmm.
And you have actual rep matters that don't sound super broad, where the next ideal client can look and see like, this is, I can see myself in these representative matters.
Yeah.
This person has
Yeah.
definitely done it before. One of the things that, I help lawyers build out their websites, and you and I are always thinking about this, is like anyone can say anything on their website.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking at like, what are the actual pieces of proof that this is something that this person is highly experienced in, and that's the rep matters. And then it's all the other stuff we help them get, like awards and recognitions. It's getting involved in the professional associations, organizations that relate to the types of clients and the type of work that you want, and being more than just a member, like being, in some kind of leadership role where it's like, okay, well, this person is involved in life science groups, they're involved in real estate groups, they're in, positions of leadership. So it's more than just filling out, your practice areas and putting everything you can think of under the sun. It's someone who's made an investment in a specific area, and I think that really differentiates you. So, and then, we talked about where you're showing up and then what you're talking about. So, most of those associations have conferences, or they have learning opportunities with webinars, or they have newsletters. So thinking about, okay, your target audience and how you want to be perceived, picking topics that relate to the kind of work you want at the most sophisticated level. So
Yeah.
even if it's something that like only pertains to, 2% of the population, that is the kind of stuff that demonstrates like, oh, Gary knows all about X data centers. I assume he can handle my like boring,
Right.
whatever I've got going on
Yeah.
work. So that's usually the guidance I'll give around picking a topic for thought leadership, is picking something that you can write or speak about a couple times over the next 12 months to really build that momentum, because that's like the fastest way to prove that you're an authority in a space, is to show up, multiple times on multiple platforms talking about the same topic, and then picking something that is going to demonstrate your complex understanding versus like 10 things to think about when you're buying a building. That is something that a robot can write, and it's probably something lots of people have written.
Yeah. Oh my God. So much good stuff. I mean, from bio to social proof to, really focusing on the rep that matters, and awards and recognitions. And you do the leadership in those professional associations. I mean, you actually do the shit that you're actually saying to do, right? Because I know how much you are into LMA, Legal Marketing Association, and you're always on the board. You've been on it for what, 8 years now? And like, you're doing the shit. Like, I love it, especially like your content. I mean, you wrote a book. What was your book called again?
Careers in business
That's it.
law.
Yeah, that's right.
I wish I had a copy right here. I don't.
I wish I could have remembered it. That would have been good. But yeah, it's, it makes things so much easier, right? And you will be so much more memorable. So for someone who isn't ready to fully commit to a niche yet, is there a way to start testing like a more focused approach without going all in on, okay, this is it, I got to pick it, and then this is it?
I mean, usually people who are in this boat are like doing nothing. So it's not like we're changing gears. It's like they're going from doing nothing, feeling comfortable and safe, being 100% reactive to whatever's coming in the door. And basically those people are letting their career and their practice happen to them. And, that's a matter of luck. And so, what I'm helping people do is be intentional and actually create the practice that they want based on the things that they like about the work that they do or the people that they work with. And so again, when you pick a focus for your marketing, it's not like, you change, the headline on your, well, I guess you could change the headline on your LinkedIn, but you're not like making a declaration. It's just you're using that to guide your next step. So I think of it as like, all right, let's think about over the next 6 months, where do we want to make a concerted effort to build your reputation as the go-to person for something? And then kind of take those steps that we already kind of went through and commit to a few things like, all right, I'm going to join this organization and see about getting involved over the next 12 months. And I'm going to write, 3 LinkedIn posts, and I'm going to make sure my rep matters. There's a highlighted section in my rep matters that are specifically showing the work that I've done before specific to this area, and really just kind of tailor your marketing efforts to that specific audience. And then after 6 months, you'll see if you've made some traction there. I've never worked with someone who regret taking action. Maybe we're changing things. And that's the thing too. It's like some people will spend way too much time trying to come up with the perfect focus. And
God, yeah.
the market will more or less tell you if you're on the right track, and you'll probably kind of wiggle a little bit, and you need other people to validate that kind of the direction that you're going. It's not something that you can do through self-reflection alone. There is a little bit of a challenge because it's not an immediate validation. It's not like, oh, this was the perfect pick because now the work is flowing in. So it takes a little bit of persistence there, but it will 100% move you forward versus kind of where I see people who are sticking to this broad messaging that are moving so slowly in 100 different directions. So even if you're like moving and then have to pivot a little bit, you'll still be further ahead than you were
not doing anything at all.
Before.
Yeah.
And like you said, you and I both are building our own practices, and we practice what we preach because that's how we get business.
Right.
And so,
because it works. Yeah.
And this is definitely something where, I'll have a new program and I'll push it out through different channels. And I'm like, I started one for individual attorneys. Most of my work is usually a law firm hiring me, and I put together, cohorts inside of a law firm. I wanted to try something different with attorneys that were either solos or their firms didn't have anything internally. And so I created this program for individual attorneys and really like marketed that, and was a little nervous. Like, are the law firms that hire me gonna feel like this is moving away from the value that I bring to them?
Yep.
And what actually happened is I got a bunch more law firm clients. Like, just the fact that I was being so active.
Yeah.
People saw me, and then they're like, oh, can you do something for our firm? And I was like, yes, actually, that's all I've ever done for the last 8 years. But so anyway.
Case in point. Yeah.
It definitely, this is one of those things where I'm like, I've read books about, the business of expertise, which David Baker wrote, which is really good. And he works a lot with people on the advertising side, but there's so many parallels with legal that I definitely recommend lawyers read that book. But since I've been kind of preaching this, it's only been reinforced. And I think as technology changes and all of these things, the world evolves. Being a general practitioner in the legal space is going to be a hard thing to build from scratch.
Yeah, totally is. And I mean, I appreciate you talking about your fear of that, because I have that same fear. Is, oh my God, I remember when I was starting my practice, and 12 years ago, my coach said, you need a target market. And I'm like, I know how important it is, but really, and so we came up with attorneys. But what helped me was, he said, look, commit to it for 3 months. And if it doesn't work out, we will reevaluate it. That's it. Just commit to it. That was 11 years ago, where I committed to it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and boom, moving forward, and haven't moved off of it. But I love what you were saying in regards to you get so much intel from the market, from your network, from your friends and family that they will either validate it or they'll be like, that's like, I don't know if that's so good, so that you can be like, okay, I'm going to move. And to your point, you're doing something. You're actually doing something as opposed to being vanilla or not doing anything at all, because people just don't like that. They really don't. And especially if you are thinking about charging premium pricing, for what? For your expertise. They want to know, not just because you have a JD after your name, but that you can actually solve their problems. And they go, yeah, this is the person. Because I don't want a general practitioner. I want somebody who really understands my situation, whatever that may be, and can help me get out of it. And that's where the highest paid attorneys are at. They're not like, it reminds me of The Office. Did you ever watch The Office?
Of course.
Okay, so you remember that when they were doing the emails and you couldn't send out any email, and Michael was totally against it, and he hired an attorney, and the attorney comes into the office after he's just been told that the company was giving him an attorney, and the attorney goes, what do you mean you're firing me already? Like, I put a lot of time into this. And then he looks in the camera and he goes, if you got a slip and fall, if you need an estate plan done, if you need a contract, if you need, we do it all. We do it all. And you just go, God, like, it's so cringy to hear that aspect, but it's done, right? And people need to ditch it down. It's just
Well,
amazing.
the difference is it puts a lot of responsibility on you. So like that lawyer who does it all, they're not telling you as a prospect that they do it all. Like if for whatever reason you get referred to them, then it's on the attorney to really sell themselves and prove that they have the capability to handle this work. When you have a focus, everything in the ether proving your ability to do this work. And so the lawyer themselves very rarely has to demonstrate that I have the expertise, because it's all like, do a quick Google search and you can see this is what I do. You know what I mean? And that is, you can't expect people to come to that conclusion if this is what you do is 100 things. If this is what you do is one thing, then people will make the assumption that you actually are the authority here. And so anyway, most of the clients I work with, or I've met very few attorneys that like to sell themselves. I think some of them have gotten into the habit of it. It's like, oh, this is just how it goes, is, I get a referral from provisors and then I have to explain to them all the things that I've done in this area. It's like, wouldn't you rather that they could glean that really quickly on their own? And then when you do meet with them, it's more of a personality match. They're just making sure that, they would enjoy working with you.
Yeah, great point. I love that. I love that aspect, because I think all of this also leads to confidence, because when you're that expertise, you show up as going, I know the questions to ask you. I know the information to glean from you, and I can then help you in a very efficient way, as opposed to I'll figure it out, and I might miss something because I'm not an expert at it, but I can figure it out. Like, it's the law. I can figure that out. You're like, no. Good God.
And they can figure it out. It's just the people who are willing to pay you to figure it out.
Yes, exactly.
They're not paying a premium. That's for sure.
Right. Yep.
And they're like, well, I can only afford this guy, so hopefully he can come through. And who wants to get hired that way? Who wants to be, the low cost leader of all things legal? And everyone's just kind of crossing their fingers that you'll actually figure this out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, here's a really good example, not lawyer, but I had 3 knee surgeries, and I was going to hire a trainer. And so I would talk to these trainers, and there was one trainer, and I'm like, what would you tell me to do? You need to do this and this. And I'm like, oh my God, no, that's gonna fuck up my knee like there's no tomorrow. And I'll never forget, I talked to this one trainer and he was like, that's all I do. All I do is people that have had knee surgeries, athletes, because that's the biggest thing. And here's what we would be doing. Ding, da, ding, da, ding, da, ding. He was 3 times as much as everybody else. And it took me a millisecond to make the choice of, I want him. Like, it was immediate. I'm like, yeah, you get it. As opposed to, these other people might screw up my knee and I might be having a forced surgery on this and they don't understand what I'm going through. This guy did, and I was willing to pay it. Like, I'm like, I know that I'm going to get results faster. I'm not going to get hurt. And he just gets me. He can talk, physiology with me that makes me go, oh, I'm going to learn something and I'm going to know what to do as opposed to what not to do, And it's just, there's so much nuggets from this, Lana. Thank you. Like, holy shit, like from, you're not going to eliminate the business, so don't have that fear. Know what you're actually going to have as a reputation over the next 12 months. What do you want it to be? It's going to make you a lot more efficient with your expertise. You're going to understand the struggles of them. You're going to know where to show up. You're going to get more sophisticated work that's going to allow you to charge more. You're going to be memorable. And then action steps like starting with your website bio. Put social proof on there. Get the awards and the recognitions. Be in leadership roles within those professional associations. Show up where those people are actually at, where you're networking, and teach, like, do topics that are sophisticated so that people can really understand exactly what you want your reputation to be. And it's just, this has been a treasure fucking trove. Thank you. Like, you're huge. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you being on here. And if anybody wants to hire her, and you should, if you're struggling with any of this stuff, anything that has to do with business development or marketing, contact her. I'm going to put all of her contact information in the notes. Reach out to her. Follow her on LinkedIn. She puts great content out there that is very specific for attorneys, that helps them out. She's giving a treasure trove of stuff, not just today, but just on a regular basis, which is why I wanted you on here, because I know how intelligent you are and how giving you are. So thank you. Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Gary. This has been so fun.
Yeah. And we'll have to do it again, hopefully sooner than later. All right.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it for today's episode of Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. If you got a spark of inspiration, learned something new, or at least got a good laugh, make sure to follow, rate, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for hanging out with me, and remember, the best marketing is the one that actually sounds like you. See you next time.